Hello, everyone, and welcome to Animal Advocates Radio Voices Carry for Animals, number 478 shows and counting this evening. This is just so wonderful. And we're going to keep going because all these animals deserve their rights granted, not ignored. So we want to keep, going on here on this platform because we are rocking the airways for the animals. Everybody, welcome into the live chat room who's all in there. Hello, everyone. Give me a big a like or a hello or something. But anyway, I want to go over a couple of things before we do get started here. My name is Debbie Dahmer, aka Mama Bear, and Mama Bear is on the air. So it's because she really does care. So all you new listeners, thank you for joining in. And all you returning listeners, I really love all your support and all these great super team players here. And hello to Darla in there, and Marilyn Olaha, and my mother Pat, aka Moose, and Mama Cat. Mama Cat's in there too. Hey, Mama Cat, meow. So glad you could all join us on these Thursdays because it's so inspiring to me on this new podcast on Podbean. We're coming live from Podbean podcast and player app. Okay, coming live. So if any of you will ever want to join in that's listening out on the web, all you have to do is go to either Google Play or Apple Store on the Podbean podcast and player and download. It's free, and then follow Voices Care for Animals podcast. And this is just wonderful. So anyway, also on the web, you can create a new account, and it's free. And then follow Voices Carry for Animals podcast on there and subscribe. And all my former shows are on there. So anything that's coming in, even from Blog Talk Radio that I did shows for, is all on there. Okay, so you can go back and listen and share 24/7, and that's Podbean, or I'm sorry, Voices Carry for Animals .podbean.com, and you'll see the host website. It's an awesome website. This Podbean podcast really rocks, everyone. I love it. So everyone that's in the chat room, you're going to be sending messages. They're all going to be recorded on the website on under this show. So kind of be careful out there and everything. So, and it's awesome. But I wanted to go over a couple of things, trying to get a hold of my um, guest here, Mama Cat. I got some issues with the guest. So, okay, here, Mama Cat, send me an invite down there for on the mic icon so I can get with her, and you can discuss anything you want to if you don't mind, because I'm having issues getting the guest on. Okay,
Hey,
so I'm going to have
hear
to.
me?
There you are. Yes, go ahead and you talk whatever you want to, and I'm going to try to get this guest in. Okay, and she's having a problem with the nickname. So anyway, Mama Cat, I wanted to tell you that I sent you an email. I don't know if you sent it yet, and I'm sending it out to a lot of people. But this show is being published after the show gets downloaded on 20 different other podcast platforms, and that rocks,
Sound
And
amazing?
yes,
Oh,
and yes, and that is wonderful. So and on podserve.fm. It's also on there, all my other shows from Blog Talk. And guess what the good news is, Mama Cat? Yeah, the good news
please.
is that my shows from TS Radio Network, Marty Oakley, back from June of 2014 to March of 2018. I found them on Pandora.com, all listed together because when I was on her network, they was all mixed in. Okay, so
Right.
and also on podchaser.fm. If you put in voices care for animals, they're going to pop up from show number 1 to 163. And that's
All
just
right.
great news. Yes. So, but go ahead and you want to you discuss anything and with the listeners out there, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to try to
Okay.
get her in. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You know me, I can always talk for days. So,
Not you. Come on.
well, I know that Elizabeth, your guest, is going to be talking about shop, don't shop, adopt, and the horrible um, things that animals are going through in these puppy mills. So I'm going to try and stay on subject with that if possible. You know me,
Yeah,
sometimes I get sidetracked, but
go right ahead.
there's I and I see it on Facebook and other platforms all the time. Oh, I just bought a puppy, paid $3,000. I bought a puppy, I paid this. And if you it's funny because if you go to the shelters, they have those same dogs. And they're calling them designer dogs. You get a poodle and a Rottweiler and you mix it and you got a rotten puddle. I mean, these are not, in my opinion, designer dogs. These are mixed breeds, and you can get the exact same dog. You can adopt from the shelter, and they will be out of the shelter. These puppy mills are just running rampant, and what they're doing to these animals is disgusting. And every time somebody buys from a breeder like that, they are contributing to the misery and the despair of these animals. And if you've ever gone to a puppy mill and saw the desperation, the sadness, and these animals are broken. Their spirits are broken. They never get out of those cages, and the only reason they're there is to make these people money. These are not pets. These are not loved. These are not cared for in a loving manner. And I don't know what it's going to take for people to realize what they're doing to these animals by supporting these breeders. So I've never ordered a dog from a breeder, although I do know a lot of people that do. And it's just very sad because you go to the shelter and you can find, the same breeds, these mixed breeds that they're selling for, and they're calling them designer breeds. And it just makes absolutely no sense to me why somebody would pay $1,500 or up to 3 grand for an animal that they can go to the shelter and adopt and pull out of a shelter system rather than to be paying these breeders to, neglect and abuse these other animals in their care. And I hate to even say in their care because they're really not, in my opinion, being, cared for. Um, so we really have to get on board. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work in this area being done, and there are places that are being shut down, but not fast enough. And hopefully we'll get somebody in there that's going. I mean, I understand there's thousands of these backyard, well, I can't say backyard breeders, supposed puppy mills. And you know, I understand there's a lot and it's overwhelming, but stop issuing license to these people if you can't keep up, going and investigating and making sure these animals are being taken care of. So maybe that's something that I don't know if it's the federal government, or if it would be local, but we have to get a lot more done on that front, and going to these shelters and getting dogs, rescuing them out of the shelter, in my opinion, is the best thing people can do. And I promote it day in and day out. And you go to a pet store and you get these puppies, and, they're so cute and people fall in love with them, but you get them home and they've got so many illnesses, and the way that they act is just, they're scared all the time, and their health is not good. So you pay, 300 to $3,000 for a puppy that you get home, and you end up having to put several $1,000s worth of medical treatment into those dogs or cats or birds. Their pet store animals are all basically the same. Now, and I'm not bashing every single pet place there is. Um, you know, because some do take care of them, but the majority, just these animals are not being cared for the way they should be. And it used to be that Craigslist. I see Darla mentioned about Craigslist dogs. Same thing there. But when I always thought Craigslist had a thing where you're not allowed to sell animals on their site. But every time I've gone to it, I've seen many animals for sale on there. And so, I'm not real sure about that either. I've also had a friend that wanted a teacup, a small puppy. So he was online investigating, and I kept telling him, dude, unless you see that animal and are able to bond with it, how do you know what kind of animal you're getting? And oh, I did my research. Okay, so he sends them the $2,000 for the dog, and of course the dog never came. Tried to get a hold of the people, their numbers were disconnected, so he was ripped off for that money. And then he went and did it again. Same thing happened. Never did get the dog. So I mean, there's just a lot of things you have to be careful for. And if you go to the animal shelters or rescues, you can spend time with the animal, make sure that it's a type of animal that you can care for. Always do your research. Like with our dogs, I rescued 4 Catahoula dogs, and I didn't know a whole lot about them. But while I was there at this guy's house, I did a little Googling, and I found out a little bit about them. And, they're high strung, high energy, got to have places, they got to be able to run. They're a herding animal. And so I rescued the 4 dogs, and we went and we entirely wood fence, 7-foot tall wood fence, all the way around the yard to keep them safe and the public safe, of course, so that they can run and play and do whatever they need to do. And, you know, but some people get dogs like that and then they bring them into an apartment. Not going to work. Animals need places to run, especially these bigger dogs. So, people, please always do your homework before you get an animal. Because if you get an animal that you can't take care of, it's only going to end up right back at the shelter anyway. And that's another thing about these puppy mills. If they get animals that don't sell for whatever reason, they dump them at the shelters anyway. So you can get these purebred, or whatever they call them, designer dogs at the shelter. You just don't get the papers. And so that's what I got to say about that. Does anybody have any questions out there? And you're right, Darla, AKC registration doesn't mean a whole lot of beans. Hi, Liz, welcome to the
Oh
room.
my goodness. No, I'm not even going to tell you what I had to do. I had to put my name, and then when I put my last name initial, I was able to save and get in. I am so sorry. Oh
It's
my
okay.
goodness.
Debbie, come on back.
I'm too old for this.
It's all right, Liz. I tried keeping the conversation up on your line of thinking for your show today. So
Perfect.
I'm not sure where Debbie is. She was trying to find you, so I'm sure she'll be back anytime. If you want to go ahead and tell everybody, um, a little bit about yourself and your web
Sure.
pages and such, that would be great.
Terrific. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I apologize for being late. Um, I am so grateful that I have a platform to be able to talk to people and to really tell the truth about what's really going on in the industry as far as puppies, shelters. Um, just quickly, I am just an ordinary person. And 3 years ago, I realized that there was a problem in this country, and people were purchasing puppies or dogs that don't fit their lifestyle. And I realized that there was no tool for anyone to actually say, what dog is right for me? What if I live in an apartment? A corgi isn't going to work. So I had an app created called Hands2Paws, and it's available in the US, Canada, and the UK. And it was my way of offering a resource for people to be able to try to get a dog responsibly, which has been quite a battle. Um, but it's doing well, and I'm very grateful. But it's really, I'm left to my own devices. I'm not getting support from any of the major players. The American Kennel Club thinks I'm nothing short of the devil.
God.
So yeah, which is okay with me. Um, so it's just a matter of talking to people and engaging. And I thought, for this session, I really wanted to, in order to go forward, I thought it was important to go back and maybe give people an insight into how this whole mess started. And I think it's important that people get an understanding of the industry, how it started, what went wrong, and what the future looks like. So if that's cool with everyone, if it's redundant, or if you know something, just give me a few seconds, and hopefully I'm going to tap into something that you didn't realize.
You go for it.
So I'm not quite sure if people know the history, so I'll make it brief. So puppy mills actually did start in the Midwest. They started after World War II. And this was when you had your baby boomers, the economy was going, in the right direction. People were moving into the suburbs. They were buying homes with their picket fences, and they wanted to finish that off with a pet. At that time, and I'm only assuming because I don't have actual facts, but anyone who wanted to breed dogs and sell puppies had to be licensed with the Department of Agriculture.
Right.
Now, at that time, they probably said, I don't know, live animals, let's just throw them under the Department of Agriculture. So, and of course, we know the Department of Agriculture oversees the slaughter of cows, pigs, and chickens. So, is there a problem with that? At that time, maybe there wasn't. But you're dealing with a person or people that are not emotionally attached to what they are breeding and selling.
Right.
It's a service. So down the road, you have what's called your pet store. So a pet store in those days was a cute shop. It wasn't like it is today. And the person who owns the pet store would call a breeder or call around, and they would send them puppies. Back at that time, you never saw a designer dog. These were all what they would call purebred dogs. So, moving forward, someone realized this was a business. Farmers they had no overhead. They just converted rabbit hutches, chicken wire, with an outbuilding. They made it as simple as possible to not only keep it cheap, but they didn't have to clean it. So you've got puppies that are standing on chicken wire, so the feces and urine just drops to the bottom. They don't want to have to manage and take care of these animals. So going forward, as that started to pick up speed, you started to see pet stores in shopping malls, strip malls, and they are placed there for a reason, and that's for high foot traffic.
Yep.
Dogs are sold mostly on impulse. So what had happened was we started to get a backyard breeder. Now, there's a difference between a backyard breeder and a puppy mill. A puppy mill generally has 1, 2, 300 dogs. They are carelessly bred.
Yeah.
They are taken away at 6 weeks old and put on a tractor trailer and sent to a pet store. In the late 90s, when the internet started to take over, no one was paying attention to, gee, what are people doing with animals? And I'll give you a statistic which is very interesting. So, probably the late 90s, 2000, you were seeing all of these designer dogs being sold online. People would start a website and they would ship you a dog, which is so convenient. The problem with that is they ship you a dog because they don't want you to see where it's coming from.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
If anybody, I'm sure there will be listeners or someone that will not agree. I will get into why that's a red flag. And if somebody wanted to count the red flags, we'd probably hit 20 by the time this was over. So, a backyard breeder is a person that may focus on a breed. For instance, Frenchies, fuzzy Frenchies, those pit bulls that you see that look like they're nothing but muscle. They look almost like a bull. Like they're these muscular dogs. They breed them that way and they sell them for $20,000-$30,000. So backyard breeders and puppy mills work at different capacities, but they both have something in common, which is irresponsible breeding.
Yep.
That is it. It is a commodity. I am selling it. It's if people want it, I'm going to make it. So what people don't understand is, and I know New York State, you can no longer buy a puppy mill. You can no longer buy pets in pet stores, which is terrific. Unfortunately, they're not focusing on the backyard breeders. It's only a small win because backyard breeding is an all cash, unregulated, with zero accountability business. So, how does that affect consumers? Consumers are buying sick animals. It's fraud. They're selling dogs that are a labradoodle, but you can line up 20 labradoodles and they all look different.
Yep.
If you're
Oh,
a
this is
consumer,
terrible.
if you're a consumer and you have a doodle and you say, I'm going to do a DNA test. Your labradoodle technically should be 50% golden retriever and 50% standard poodle. That's what a labradoodle is. If it comes back 5 other breeds as a consumer, you are out of luck. You who are you going to sue? You'll never get them on the phone. They can close up shop, change a name, and set up a new website. So, unfortunately, people that own a Bernedoodle, Danadoodle, Labradoodle, Golden Doodle, they all say the same thing. They say, quote, "We did our research. It's a legitimate breeder," end quote. There is no such thing as a legitimate doodle breeder, period. I don't care what anyone says. You bought a doodle from a backyard breeder. If you bought it online, you can also buy it from a puppy broker. This is another thing consumers don't understand is you'll look at a website and when it lists 6 or 7 different mixes, that's a broker.
Yeah.
It's designed to confuse you. It's designed to lie to consumers and make you feel that you're getting, this sense of I'm talking to someone who cares. They don't care. They're paid a commission. They sell a dog, and that's how they make money. They're just the middleman. So, how does this affect shelters? Well, as you can well see, shelter dogs originally were just, like the dog catcher, a loose dog. That's really what a shelter did. It was run by a city or a town or a municipality. What happened was as dog ownership increased, abandonment also increased. So what you have is a situation now, other than a natural disaster, you have people that are breeders, that are backyard breeders, that say they have an oops litter, and there's no such thing. What they do is they will drop off the genetically compromised puppies, the cleft palates, the
Yeah.
deaf puppies, the blind puppies, puppies that are born with missing limbs. They don't care. They dump them, and then year or two later, 3 years later, when they're sick of breeding, they dump the mother, the father, they dump puppies. It is become a dumping ground for oops litters, which is no such thing. It's the puppies they deem unsellable. And once they hit a certain age, because they age out, puppies have a shelf life, which is horrendous. They
Yeah.
dump them at a shelter. No one's going to buy an 8-month-old puppy, so they just dump it, or they let it loose, or they tie it to a tree. So, what has happened in the industry is when you go into a pet store and you see puppies, you now see the top requested dogs: corgis, Frenchies, and all the mixes in between. People forget that the puggle came from a backyard breeder. And the backyard breeder wants that hit, that, oh my God, everybody wants a puggle. All multi-poo, cockapoo, Shih Tzu poo, they all originated from puppy mills and backyard breeders.
Hey, hi Liz. This is Debbie. I got back on. Thanks, Mama Cat. You can stay on there, okay? Mama
Hey,
Cat's a Mama Cat's a lifesaver. You
Oh
know.
man, you rock. I am here. It was so weird. I had to put my name and my first initial for my last name. Then I was able to access. How
Oh yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah, because with this new pod, we're all newbies on this. Because it's only been going on since February 20th. We're doing pretty good. I mean, I'm getting them published.
we're
Hey,
getting
you
listen,
there.
know.
you know what?
Yep,
Anyone who listens can carry a message.
that's
And the
right.
and the message is people don't understand how to buy a puppy, what the industry looks like, and where they come from. Now, there are people who choose to be deaf, dumb, and blind, and there are people who honestly don't have a clue.
Right.
That's
And
true.
and that is where the concept of even, the show that I'm trying to pitch to get a network to pick up. The large organizations are not pooling their money and running public service announcements. You'll never see a public service announcement on any major network just saying, hey, be careful where you buy your dog. It may not be what you think. Do your homework. So people are left to their own devices.
I
And
will. I would like to say though, National Mill,
yes,
they
National Mill Rescue.
advertise here.
Yes,
I
yes.
live right up the road from them, and they do have advertising in our local area. I don't know if it reaches outside of Colorado.
No, it does not. And
That's
and
too
I'm
bad.
very familiar with them. I donated money to get a brick in honor of all the animals that were made to breed and all the puppies that suffer. The issue I have with a lot of rescues is they will get a call from a backyard breeder or a puppy mill for whatever reason. Let's say they're closing up shop and they've got all these puppies. An organization will go in and rescue all the puppies, but they will never mention who the breeder is, nor is there any other follow up. So, in essence, they could be just turning their stock and starting new all over again. There are also rescue groups that are made to sign a non disclosure.
Yes.
They are not allowed. I think that is criminal. You're enabling the cycle to continue.
But on their defense on that, I will say that a lot of states have laws or counties have laws that you're not allowed, the rescuers are not allowed to disclose where they came from.
And I can understand that. And
Isn't
I'm
that
by no
crazy?
means saying that National Mill Rescue is doing that. I'm saying there are rescues. I don't
Right.
know who they are, but I think that I would like to know if I said, wait a minute, my dog was from Missouri. Oh my God, my dog was from that breeder. It would be nice if people had access because, and we'll talk about the horrible 100 list. It is a fact that the Department of Agriculture is now become an antiquated system. And it's become antiquated because they themselves have admitted that they cannot keep up with all of the unregulated breeding. Because back in the day, in order to sell to a pet store, you had to be licensed with the Department of Agriculture. States have no idea what's going on in their own backyard.
Right.
They don't know. So people are setting up shop and selling puppies. They're not registered. And it's a shame because there is a way out. But I don't think under this administration it's going to happen. And even if it was, I'm not sure I would want them to be in charge of it. I don't know what God knows what they would do. So there is a way to fix this. And it's not as difficult, but people just don't want to do it because we live in a country where animals don't matter. It doesn't matter. People don't look at the sadness, the heartache. I tell people very clearly, not talking about breeding in this country is like not talking about global warming. We are at epidemic numbers of sick animals, and we are breeding sick animals.
Excuse me, ladies. Picking up some sounds in the back, and because this pod bean picks up everything. Does either one of you have your speakerphone on? Because there's some noise in the back. Because it will pick up every sound.
It's probably my oxygen machine, Debbie.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't want
Okay.
you shutting that off.
No, we don't want you shutting that off. You can keep that on.
Sorry.
So So I think, I think that it's unfortunate because in the end, through this buying cycle,
Wait a minute. Wait. I'm getting some sound. Okay, go ahead.
I think in the end, through this buying cycle, it's the animals who suffer. Consumers don't understand that you can responsibly get a puppy. And how is that done? Well, if you download Hands2Paws, once you answer questions and you're matched with a breed or breeds, once you click on that image, you're brought to the Breed Association website. This has nothing to do with the American Kennel Club. The AKC marketplace is not a vetted service, and 30 breeders who advertise on the AKC marketplace have shown up on the horrible 100 list. So, and it's interesting because a consumer sees AKC, oh, it must be all right, and it isn't. And we can talk about various reasons why, and really when it comes down to it, it's all about money. The American Kennel Club does not care about the integrity of animals, because if they did, they would take a public stand against it. So I'll probably get hate mail for that. When you buy a puppy from a breeder who breeds show dogs, what happens is these animals are not only selectively bred, but they're also able to breed out certain illnesses. They're also able to breed out, they can extend the life expectancy. Irish wolfhounds don't live long, but I met a breeder, and through diligent, proper breeding, they've extended their life 1 to 2 years. So when you buy a puppy from a breeder who breeds show dogs, and this is where consumers get it wrong, when you contact a breeder, they will send you an application that you must send back. On top of that, you need to go and see them. They will not sell you a puppy. It's against their bylaws to sell in the manner of which puppies are sold. Their bylaws also prohibit them from selling to pet stores. It prohibits them from giving a puppy. I don't know if you've ever been to an event where they'll have an auction and they'll be auctioning off a dog. They're prohibited to do that. The biggest thing with buying a puppy from a breeder who breeds and shows dogs is they're not in the industry of selling puppies. They only sell the puppies that are not show quality. That is it. So you're getting a beautiful dog with all of the medical testing, and you're signing a contract. Under no condition can you surrender that dog. That dog must go back to the breeder. You're not going to get that from a pet store, and you're not going to get that online. So if 100 people did the right thing, that's 100 dogs that wouldn't end up in a shelter because they're contractually bound. People don't know that. People think buying a dog from a breeder who breeds show dogs is more expensive. It isn't. And these shelters, unless you want a dog that knows how it's going to act, look, fit your lifestyle, get a puppy from a breeder who breeds and shows. If you don't want that and you don't care, people need to adopt a dog. Go to your shelter. There are puppies, seniors. There are hospice dogs. There's mothers with puppies. There's everything under the sun. What has happened is social media is making people stupid, and they're buying dogs based on what they look like or what celebrity owns it. And that is what is killing this industry and is so destructive. It's social media. You shouldn't be allowed to sell puppies on Facebook or Instagram.
No.
These these are these are these are organizations that went from selling. There are people that went from selling drugs to stealing people's dogs and selling them. They make more money selling Frenchies than selling drugs, and it's legal.
Whoa. Oh, this is so much corruption going on out there, Liz. I mean, from all angles, greed bullies front lines. It's all about them and not the animals.
It has nothing to do with the animal.
No. And
And
they
that's
would,
why,
yep, they
and
want to fill their pockets.
that's it. It's all about and that's why pet stores have evolved into like Petland. They're habitual offenders of selling sick animals. And people don't care. You know, you ask an owner of a dog, of a Labradoodle, and you ask them, how would you feel if you found out through a DNA test that it wasn't a Labradoodle, it was, six other dogs? And they'll say, oh, but I love the dog. And it's like, well, I didn't ask you that. You actually got ripped off. You paid for a dog that isn't what you thought. You have zero recourse. There's nothing you can do. So, I'm sorry. Somebody wanted to say something?
No, no, go ahead. Well, see, all this stuff is very informative because, millions of animals, healthy adoptable animals, what's on the topics for this evening, get put down because of overcrowding. All ages, they don't have enough time to get them to adopt it or foster it or
Correct.
whatever.
Yep.
And with this inflation going on, it's sickening. I mean, the vets have went up, the food, the surgeries, it has skyrocketed along with
Sure.
everything else.
Sure.
And so a lot of, I'm reading all over the internet where, the families are giving up their pets because they can't afford them anymore because of all, the rent has skyrocketed, the mortgages,
Sure.
property taxes, I mean, you name it, food,
Yep.
gas, everything. So who pays the price? The animals. And it's sad. I
Well,
know at the vet's office, I even told him last time I was there with my dog, Sugar Bear, I told him and I looked at him and I said, listen, this is all about money, isn't it? $70 to just get through the door.
yeah.
That's not including any tests or anything like that, or any medication. And I said, it's ridiculous. All
Well,
this profit
what
before or animals is the pits.
Well, what has happened is it's now a business, right? It's like the old
Yep.
days. You had a local vet and it was in a cute little house, and you would go and you would see the vet, and the venture capitalists and PetSmart and the food companies, they bought up all of these practices. I'll give you a very interesting statistic. In 1990, there were 52 million pets in households. Now this is pets, so this is cats, dogs, whatever is deemed a pet. The cost for pet care in 1990 was 2.3 billion dollars. Okay? In 2024, now let's take into consideration all of those things. Rent, salaries, drugs, whatever it is to run a practice, liability insurance or malpractice insurance. But in 2024, there are 84 million pets in households in the United States. And in 2024, the cost of vet care was $39.1 billion. That's over a 300% increase in 34 years. When
Mm-mm-mm.
in 2000, so this is right as things started jumping off with the internet. In 10 years, it went to $8 billion. So what is happening is consumers are buying sick animals. And consumers will buy a dog. Number one, there's no guarantee with the dog you buy from a backyard breeder. And a pet store gives you this false sense of, well, you've got 2 weeks, get it checked at the vet. Okay, well, I know if I had a dog for 2 weeks and it was ill, I'm not going to return it for another one. I'm going to keep it. Number one. Number two, many medical conditions don't come out until they're 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. So, you know, it's like, all right, so you're totally screwed there. And what happens when you go to the vet with a sick animal, they will tell you what it's going to cost, and you either have the money or you don't. If you don't have the money, you can take out a care credit or any of those bridge credit cards that will charge you over 20% interest, or you put the dog to sleep. What do consumers generally do? They say, thank you very much, we'll think about it. And then they go to their nearest shelter and say, we're moving and we can't take our dog, and they dump it there. 60%. Okay. 60% of owner surrenders to a shelter are the wrong dog or medical conditions that they cannot afford. So now with the Frenchies, insurance, and I called this 2 years ago, insurance is either dropping breeds or the premium is so high. Who's going to pay $800 a month for pet insurance? So you're going to see a surge. If in fact animals are dropped, you're now going to see a surge of people who can't afford. I had a sick dog. I have a 9-year-old dog that got ill. It cost me $10,000.
Whoa.
$10,000. She
Oh
was
my
in
goodness.
She was in intensive care at $900 a night. I don't even stay at hotels that are $900 a night, but that's the reality. And that is, I am committed to my pet. So, what if you don't have that money? You take out a credit card, you end up paying 3 times the amount, and in some cases, those animals pass away. So, the consumer doesn't understand. The media does not cover, if you've noticed, I don't see anybody talking about this. No one is talking about getting the right breed. When someone says adopt, don't shop, right? Someone says adopt, don't shop. Well, first of all, if that's all you can contribute, that is just your feeling, right? That's just adopt, don't shop. I think people should adopt and not shop. Well, okay, I can give you facts and statistics and science. Adopt, don't shop online. That is what you need to talk about, because the animals in shelters don't originate from breeders who breed and show dogs. They don't. And I know that there are animals that, breeders, that's a whole other world. It's like breeding cats. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think that the Kennel Club, whoever comes up with these wacky ideas of what a show German Shepherd should look like when it's got an ass so low to the ground, it's got hip issues. I don't know who comes up with what the standards are, but if you look at a Frenchie that was from a puppy mill and a Frenchie that wins at Westminster, you're looking at 2 different dogs. And it's all due to poor, negligent breeding. And consumers don't understand. And they want you to be stupid. They want people to dummy down. They want you to buy online. There are lobbyists like the Pet Advisory Network. There are lobbyists who go to DC and jam up every single bill because it's a business. And that is horrifying. It is a business. And in the end, 30 years from now, you will not be able to buy a healthy pet. You will have no other choice than to go to a breeder who breeds and shows dogs, and it'll cost you $100,000 to buy a healthy pet, because that's what's happening. It's going to be few and far between. And I find that to be horrifying. And what you're going to see is I think, Debbie, we talked about this. You're going to see an increase in euthanasia, and they're going to start euthanizing all dogs over a certain age. If they're old, if they're ill, if they're lost a limb, if they're blind, they're going to put all of those animals to death, all of them. And they're only going to have puppies or 1-year-old dogs, because there's no room. There's no room, and there's no end in sight. How bleak is that?
It's terrible. I mean, what's going on out there? We got to be a part of the solutions, not the ongoing problems that's going on year after year, decade after decade.
That's right.
I mean, we're going on to the 22nd century here. A lot of us won't be here.
That's
But it
right.
looks like what's going on here, what is going to be happening with all this time being between? I mean, it's just with the laws and everything else, they get so delayed. It takes so long.
Well,
And
they
then
do
who
that on
pays the price? The
purpose.
animals. Yeah,
It's done on purpose. So if I see a posting and it says from an animal organization, I'm going to call it the Puppy Protection Act. The Puppy Protection Act. Let's get that bill signed. Donate your money. Da 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 da. Okay. Well, anyone can go online and you can look up the bill. The bill was introduced 20 years ago. People don't know that. And the Puppy Protection Act, what happens is it goes under, somebody supports it, and it goes under review. And what they did is they review it, and every year or every 4 years or whatever, they kick it over to the Department of Agriculture, where it dies. And they've been doing this year in and year out. But you know what? If there's no homeless animals, there's no money to be collected. Do you know how much money these organizations collect? Hundreds of millions of dollars, with salaries that are unconscionable. Unconscionable. If I work for the Humane Society or whatever organization, I shouldn't be paid $3 million a year. It's outrageous. So, I understand all the good that's done, but if you look at the horrible 100 list, which most people don't know about, the horrible 100 list lists all of the top offending puppy mills. But if you look at the list, there are people, it'll say, appeared on this list 5 times. That means 5 years. For 5 years, a habitual offender is still in business. Now, if that's not a broken system, what is?
that's true. And Liz, I'm going to be see if anybody wants to ask you any comments
Sure.
or questions. We'll usually try to 7 o'clock or to 8, but so I've been going over. That's no problem. If it's okay with you.
Sure.
But anyway, if anybody wants to speak with Liz, the founder of Hands2Paws, send me a notice that you want to come on air, and I think it's a phone icon or the what you got, and I have the mic icon to alert me that you want to come on air, okay? And try to refrain from any noises in the background. Uh, phone, televisions, radios, conversations. You're more than welcome to come on board because we got some serious issues here. I mean, it's terrible what's going on, and we just ignoring it? I mean, we all could do better. What is the issues here? It just keeps going on and on and on. And who
Well,
pays the price? The animals. And that's the sad part because all ages get affected out there. And
Well,
it's all
social
about money
media.
and greed, you know?
Social media is the problem. You've got a
Yeah.
generation of children that don't know anything other than shopping online. Children need to know you don't buy animals online. There's no one is discussing. You need to reach people at a broad scale, and it's not happening. And that's why I'm trying to get this show picked up. If it would make a difference because Pet Pursuit, which is a show that I have, it's an unscripted reality show, and it basically would follow the journey of people looking to get a pure breed dog the right way, and also the journey of people adopting. We see shows that are all about adoption and adopting dogs, but we never see where it originates. And it all originates on where the dog comes from. So
And
that's the answer. It's educating people on a grand scale.
yeah, I mean, it's just, there's just, I mean, we all, they say they blame it on society. We are society,
Yeah,
and what excuses are there? There's millions of people in this world.
money. It's all
Where
money.
are they? And it's all, yeah, it's right. All about money. Greed bullies from all angles out there.
Well, I
All the price gouging,
I
you
did
know?
a I did a posting on LinkedIn, basically pleading with Hollywood producers to not use breeds in movies. 101 Dalmatians, the Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Every time they use a dog, the sales go through the roof. I said, please make a commitment to only focus on dogs rescued from shelters. And you know what? Some people loved it. Oh, somebody wants to speak.
Yeah, I'm going to, aloha.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh,
You're live and on the air.
oh,
Go right
hello.
ahead.
Yes, and hello, Liz.
Hi,
Hi.
aloha.
Yeah, yeah, Aloha 1978, aka Harry Lynn, short for Lynn. Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that movie, the Dalmatians, 1001 Dalmatians. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's a
101, yeah.
101. There's another movie that I just saw in theaters called The Friend, and it features a Harlequin, um, Harlequin dog. I forgot what breed it is. Harlequin.
Was it the big dog, the Great Dane?
The great, there you go, Harlequin Great Dane, because there's more than one type. But so whenever there's a movie out like that, people are going to rush out to get a Great Dane because of that movie, because of the hype.
Correct. And
Yes.
thank you for telling me that because I was not aware. And I will go again once again on LinkedIn and, shame on you. People don't realize that number one, Great Danes have a very short lifespan and they also can get bloat and they will die from it.
Oh, I see. So it's the large breeds that die.
Larger breeds, Irish Wolfhounds, Great Danes, generally the rule of thumb is the bigger the dog, the shorter the lifespan. Great Danes usually live to be about 9, 10. If you have one that's 12 or 13, that's old. Same with it. But what's going to happen is if you've got a show with a Harlequin Dane, say hello to all the backyard breeders and puppy mills. That dog, you're going to see that dog and you're going to see it come on, and it's going to be catastrophic because consumers don't realize they can have medical issues like bloat, which if people know what that is, and they have a short lifespan. Catastrophic.
Hmm.
Yeah. And again, it's people who don't know. I met a woman who said she had a Frenchie. It was like a Harlequin, like blue-eyed Frenchie. And I spoke to her and she said, "Oh, we did our homework." Well, if you did your homework, you'd know that Frenchies don't come in that color.
Mm.
So people see what they want, they hear what they want, and they will see a Great Dane and it will boost the sales for backyard breeders and puppy mills. It's
Well,
terrible.
they should always add a reminder to every movie, don't you think?
Oh,
As a reminder not to. yeah, to be sure to if you want to rescue a dog, that don't let the movie have an effect on or an impact on choosing the dog breeder. Make
Correct.
it, yeah,
Or
yes.
have a disclaimer saying this is a professionally trained dog. Your dog isn't going to do what this dog does. There's someone off camera holding up a raw steak to get the dog to sit.
Hmm.
So, people see what they want and they buy it. You can do an entire podcast on the psychology of why people need to fit in by buying what everyone else buys, right? The fear of missing
Yes.
out and all this other garbage, keeping up with the Joneses. That's a whole other story there of why people do what they do. But social media is a problem. The ability to sell puppies on Facebook, Instagram, that is a problem. And if there's responsibility taken with those companies, but they don't care. They make money. It doesn't matter. It's people need to be educated. And that's why a television show is the best thing because it's not political, it's happy, but you turn off the TV and you say, "Oh my god, we bought our dog in the parking lot for cash." It's wrong. You can learn in a different way.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's bad using animals. Same with cats. The abuse that goes on in the world of cats is the same.
But Hollywood doesn't mention that.
No, nobody talks about puppy mills. No one talks about maybe we shouldn't use a Belgian Malinois in a movie because the sales are going to go through the roof.
Hmm.
Any celebrity that one of those Kardashians was carrying an Italian Greyhound. Well, that's the dog I have. That is a very particular breed that can have tooth problems, that can have epilepsy, and every person that owned an Italian Greyhound and the people who bred and showed them were all but dying because they said, "Here we go. We're going to see a surge in puppy mills and pet stores." And then guess what?
What?
Dumped in the shelter,
Oh,
right? The
mm,
end result is the shelter.
sad.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part. I mean,
Oh, yes.
whoa. And then all these animals are healthy, adoptable animals, and they get put down no matter what age. And
Well,
that's scary.
Well, it's going to get worse because we're running out of space. Now you're going to have these tax issues. Now you're going to have people that have to, tighten their belts. I don't know how old anyone is here, but I'm from a generation where we know how to do without. We know how to tighten our belts. Today, people don't know. And you go online, you get your food sent, you pay your bills, you go shopping, you buy cosmetics, you buy everything online. You can buy a car, but you don't buy an animal. And that's what people need to know. And people don't know not every breed is for you. And not every breed that is a mixed designer dog should be bred together. Imagine breeding a Jack Russell and a corgi. You're going to have you have a dog bouncing off the walls. It's cruel. It's cruel and inhumane to do this to animals. Because a breeder who breeds and shows would rather cut off their foot than poison the bloodlines that they've worked so hard to get. And it is absolutely catastrophic. And only people like yourselves who listen and think, wow, I had no idea. Did you know that there's an auction and people that are puppy mills and backyard breeders will go to an auction and dump dogs that they can't breed anymore or they don't want. And someone will buy a dog that it's on its last legs and say, "Oh, I can maybe get a litter out of this." Is that the most horrific thing you've ever heard?
Agreed.
Terrible. It's
Yep.
terrible.
Meat dogs. And ladies, I want to see if anybody else wants to
Sure.
ask Liz any more questions.
Thank you,
And
Liz. I'll mute
Thank
yeah,
you,
myself now.
Aloha.
thank you, Aloha.
Thank you.
And love all your support because I'm gonna be shutting it
Absolutely.
down here in a few minutes. Okay, um, so I can edit it and publish it, and then it's going to go all over the place. Okay, so
Well,
here we go. Darla, she wants to come on air. Oh, Darla, can you send that again? To alert me. I'm not sure if yours is a microphone icon or a phone icon. But Darla, could you send that to me again? The to an invite to come on air. Okay, here we go. You are live and on air. Go ahead, Darla. Can you hear me?
I think she has to unmute her mic.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Darla, go ahead and send it to me again. I don't know if it's okay, you're on speaker now. Go. You're live and on the air. Welcome aboard.
Wow.
Hi,
I'm going.
Darla.
Hello.
Yes.
I do have a question because I'm going to be working with hopefully fostering and stuff like that. What is, with all this information going, what can we do right now to start to nullify this situation?
Well, there's a couple of things. Unfortunately, Congress oversees the Department of Agriculture. If you want to be a licensed breeder, you pay a fee of $125. That should go up to $5,000. So, right there, by jacking up the registration fee, because these people are selling dogs for thousands and thousands of dollars, that would make an impact right there. What has to happen is people need to talk about it. A movement needs to start. Mainstream media needs to pick up a story or highlight something and get people talking. It has to change at a state level. So it's like getting a driver's license. They need to incorporate, you need to pay a fee, you need to apply for a tax ID, you need to send your registration along with the completion of 20 hours of a husbandry course. Unfortunately, it is dependent at a federal level and at a local level. But as human beings, we need to tell people we know. We need to say, hey, you're getting a dog. Listen, do yourself a favor, X, Y, and Z. Because 40% of people who get a dog that their neighbor has, their friend or a relative has. So if I've got a doodle, you're going to go buy a doodle. So there is no immediate fix. That has to come from higher up. But we can spread the message, talk to people, post, follow on Instagram organizations and support those. Look, I tried to get people to sign a petition to regulate backyard breeding, and I needed thousands and thousands of signatures. I paid for it every month. You have to pay to keep something going. Do you know I got 4,000 signatures in 6 months? That's shameful.
Is the petition still going on?
No, I shut it down for a later date because I was paying to keep it going and no one cared. I can't get anyone to even look at a proposed bill with that many signatures. See, everyone cares until they have to sign something and they don't care. And it's shameful. And I've personally tried other venues. I've tried to backdoor the pet industry by getting commitments from major retail real estate developers and brokers to commit to not leasing space to anyone opening a pet store. The biggest organizations wouldn't commit to that. So, you can only do so much. You have to rely on sharing information. If you've got a friend who's married to someone who works for a newspaper, get on the phone. If we're all separated by 7 other people or 6 other people, you have to look at your own resources and say, who do I know? Who can I call? And that's what's important, is looking in your own house to see, who do I know? I think I have a neighbor whose uncle works for the Washington Post. That's what we have to do. We're left to our own devices. And you're right. Someone commented about old school journalism. You know what they do today? Whatever story is trending online is what they cover, even if it's a lie and one-sided.
Yep.
That's it.
That's true. And the negatives, I'm going to be shutting it down here. So, this has been very informative, Liz. And I got to edit this show and also publish it. But, Darla, thank you for calling in. And Mama Cat, she helped me out big time. A big meow to her.
A big
And also,
meow, a big purr
aloha.
and meow.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm making pizzas with my paws as we speak.
Yeah, aloha. Thank you so much. Next week, everyone, we got. I want to thank you so much, Liz, for coming on again. Another great show and everything. And as soon as this is done, I'll send you the former links to my other shows that interviews we did. But
Great.
and next week, next Thursday, everyone, that'll be May 1st. We're going to welcome back. Watch a dog, Mary Swagger. She's coming back. And this is great. All the great guests coming back from Blog Talk Radio I had on, and also TS Radio Network. Because the more exposure out there, the better to wake everyone up, open your eyes, and everything. But this, after the show is downloaded this evening, it will be published on my website. Everyone, voicescaryforanimals.com. Subscribe free, and it will be on there. You can listen right from my website. Also on YouTube, Animal Advocates Radio Podcast. Subscribe on there. Also on Voices Carry for Animals podcast on YouTube, and check it out. On Podbean, you want to go and check it out after the show, or if you came in late, Podbean, or I'm sorry, Voices Carry for Animals .podbean.com. Okay, and then if you're listening from the web, you want to download this app from either Google Store or Google Play or Apple Store from Podbean Podcast, and then follow Voices Care for Animals podcast. Okay,
Terrific.
and you're in.
And also, if you want to learn more, you can follow us on Instagram, which is hands
yes,
underscore 2paws, PAWS. We also have a website. We blog every day about all types of content. But you can follow us on Instagram. You can see what we're all about and what we're trying to do. But please, to make this a better world, we need to look into our own families, our own network, and do anything you can to get someone. It takes one person to make a big difference, but
that's it.
it takes people who care enough to
That's
say,
right.
I know someone, let me make a phone call.
All of our voices do matter, everyone.
They all matter.
That's right. And also, if you want to, iHeartRadio. This is going to iHeartRadio. Voices Carry for Animals and podcasts. Apple Podcasts, music on both Animal Advocates Radio, Voices Carry for Animals. Spotify. If any of you are on there, you are a member or follow them, on there, press the like and make comments and everything. Spotify, Animal Advocates Radio, and Voices Carry for Animals. Podparadise.com. Both. Also, Amazon podcasts for both of them. Animal Advocates Radio, Voices Carry for Animals. Podbay.fm, Voices Carry for Animals podcast. We got Pandora.com, okay? For voices carried for animals and animal advocates radios. Rephonic, Animal Advocates Radio, Boomplay. This has really expanded, everyone, and we need
Good.
all your support. It is rocking, okay? I mean, it is rocking. The downloads is record breaking, and we need record breaking action players. Castro, Animal Advocates Radio, and Cast Box, both of them. Pocket Cast, Podchaser, Podserve.fm, Animal Advocates Radio, Podchaser Player FM, Listen Notes on both of them, Podcast Addict, Audible on both, Podcast
Wow, that's a lot.
Republic. This is like going in almost hitting 25 of them. Yes, happy dance, everyone. So I'm doing the happy dance for the mama bear. You know, the invisible mama bear is doing the happy dance. And it's all because of you. Total success for 478 shows this evening.
Good.
But thank you all for listening. Visit Liz's website, Hands2Paws, and that's the number two, right? .com, right? Liz, I don't have it right in front of
Correct.
me.
So it's
Yeah,
www.hands, hands the number two, paws, PAWS.com. On Instagram. It's hands underscore two paws. And
good.
please, you can reach out if you have any questions for me. You can DM me on Instagram. I am diligent and I take this very seriously. This is my swan song in life. I need to leave something behind when I'm no longer in it. So this is personal for me.
Yeah, I mean, we're all out there, doing something. I mean, Lisa's not doing nothing and looking the other way because that's happening too much out there, everyone. Let your family know, your sons or daughters or neighbors or
Absolutely.
co-workers, you know.
Hands to Paws is a free download. It is a free resource. I don't make any money. I have no relationships with breeders, nothing. It's just a resource to help you get the right dog, and it also will help you find a rescue.
That's right. It's so very important. It is so important. But
Good.
anyway, everyone, I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. Okay, and I hope you return next Thursday with Watchdog Mary coming back. Mary Swagger, give her your support out there because she's out there working harder, just like the rest of them. All these shows are a total success because of all the former amazing guests and callers and listeners, and we're going to keep going. We're not giving up, okay? So
You
just keep
got it.
spreading the word. And thank you again, Liz. And like I said, I got to edit this and then publish it, and then I'll send you the right one, okay?
Terrific.
So, but thank you, everyone. Leave comments. You can also share this show from the chat room, okay? So, hope all you tune in next week. How's that sound?
Tune in next week. Be there and be square.
That's it. That is true. Be scared, you right?
Oh, gosh. All right, everybody, take care. Be well.
Thank you so much. And thank you all the ones in the chat room, all my super team players and my mother. May God bless you all. Paw in hand, united we stand
That's
against all animal cruelty and neglect across the
flag.
land. Good night, everyone.